所以，来吧，备下龙，在平安中，阿泰来，戴上王冠，巴拉，他的新郎，波伊卡拉，来吧，新娘。这是一首优美的希伯来婚礼歌曲，仿佛天上的天使在呼唤等待了6000年的新娘，勇敢地站出来，为将要来临的天上君王戴上荣耀的冠冕。
Are all she's military leaders down? The Tui Bei Tu hints at a blood-soaked golden sword in the coming Fourth Plenary Session of CCP. First of all, let me state that God saves people, no matter if they are good or bad. God opposes any form of murder. This is one of the 10 commandments. So the purpose of this post is to remind everyone to be careful of the dangers ahead. The Central Military Commission and the CCP Central Committee announced the expulsion of 9 top generals from the party. On the surface, they were all promoted by Xi, indicating a complete annihilation of his forces in CCP military. But in reality, every one of those promoted is part of Xi's influence. Even General Zhang was Xi's close associate and childhood friend, and they both built their careers on Lai Changqing's smuggling ring. Therefore, today's farce is merely a temporary rebellion against the boss Xi, driven by frustration and self-protection. But if Xi doesn't step down, even if he only retains the presidency of the country, he has a strong chance of a fight back and win. Don't underestimate today's announcement of these 9 expulsions. If Xi succeeds in his comeback tomorrow, he will inevitably regain all power by re-establishing them overnight. The one who overthrew him will be overthrown, and those who was overthrown will rise to power again. The key is the golden sword depicted in the Tui Bei Tuesday. Who will this golden sword blood-soaked upon? Let's look at the 46th hexagram of the Tui Bei Tu. Prophecy. A dark haze will slay without a knife. 10,000 will survive, if one will not escape the death punishment. Ode. There is a soldier bearing a bow, claiming only to be an old man with white hair. A golden sword is hidden within the eastern palace. And the warrior enters the imperial palace through the back door. Hexagram, Feng Shui Huan. Everyone should understand that the reason these divine prophecies aren't clearly stated is because they aren't meant to predict a single event, but rather to represent many things. In fact, even Yu Menglong, also known as Joseph, arranged things this way. We'll share this with you in a future program. Therefore, we must learn to verify every aspect, just as we cultivate and nurture. This is something only Easterners will understand, because it doesn't provide a standard answer, but rather offers good answers to many situations. Western simple thinking is only needed for objective judgment and simple decisions, typically dominated by the conscious mind and occupying 10% of the brain. Eastern comprehensive thinking, on the other hand, is dominated by the subconscious, occupying 90% of the brain, preparing for a variety of emergencies and requiring deep subjective considerations. For almost 90% of daily tasks, simple thinking alone, finding a good answer, often considered the standard answer, is sufficient. However, if humans want to survive in the complex environment of survival, especially amidst the constant catastrophes of the end times, they must consider how to respond to emergencies on a regular basis, because those that occur less frequently are often the most deadly. This is why, when God created the human brain, He gifted us with a subconscious mind. Yet, we often hear people claim that humans only use 10% of their brains, while the other 90% is wasted. The human brain consumes the most energy, it's impossible for it to be wasted 90%. Furthermore, the brain only accounts for 2% of our body weight, yet consumes a quarter of our energy. Therefore, those who claim the 90% waste, generally lack an understanding of how the human brain works and are those who embrace simplistic thinking. Enoch repeatedly emphasized the importance of abandoning simplistic thinking, because only by returning to the comprehensive Eastern mindset can one survive the turbulent tragic events of the end times. Returning to the Tui Bei Tu, the hexagram character Huan tells us that water is dispersing, meaning Xi Jinping's group is dispersing itself. This also suggests that the ultimate catastrophe will be the dispersal of the water from China's 100,000 dams. Furthermore, it indicates that the Fourth Plenum will ultimately see everyone fleeing and dispersing. In the Torah, water refers to spirit and represents people. This is why God arranged every detail in this way, so that we can ultimately discover the pattern. Look, 2 or 3 days before the Fourth Plenary Session of CCP, the Central Military Commission suddenly announced the removal of 9 top generals. Originally, their cases were to be discussed and finalized at the Fourth Plenary Session, but now they have been declared as dead cases, with no room for reversal. This is absolutely not a normal phenomenon, but a sign that the Fourth Plenary Session of CCP is about to collapse. Prophecy. Beijing is currently under a dark cloud, whether it's the weather or the political atmosphere, including the Yu Menglong case. This is completely uncharacteristic, as if the hidden evil deeds of the past are being revealed one by one, as if torn apart, bit by bit, a tearing more terrifying than 1,000 cuts, without a knife, but with force. Isn't this notice simply a rip-off? If everyone wants to survive, one person must die. That person is Xi Jinping. And it's truly difficult for him to die, because his counterattack will also take with it many people who have committed heinous crimes, including those who caused Yu Menglong to die. This is why, conversely, if she wants to survive, thousands must die. This foreshadows the inevitable and sudden, massive counterattack from Xi, ultimately shedding blood in Beijing during the meeting time. Enoch advises those who still have some common sense, especially those political elders, to leave Beijing immediately for a few days. As long as you live, your family will be safe. Your death will mean the annihilation of your entire family. She is ruthless and will inevitably wipe out the entire family. Marshal Zhang, who knew him well, sacrificed 9 generals at this time to deter any possible unforeseen events. But how could he have anticipated that those he trusts most are often the most dangerous? This is how the following words were arranged. There was a soldier carrying a bow, who simply said, "I am an old man with white hair." This sentence is easy to understand. Zhang's name and his power both contain the character, and it's a longbow, a missile. He's the one who, annoyed by Xi so much his hair becomes white quickly. But the following sentence is more problematic. A golden sword is hidden within the East Gate, and a warrior enters the imperial palace through the back door. The East Palace refers to the Crown Prince. With the Crown Prince ascending to the throne, swordsmen and axes are often ready to kill Emperor. She is the one who most desires the dictator, but hasn't yet reached the true dictatorship yet, so he is the Crown Prince, who wants to kill whoever on his way to become dictator. Therefore, he must rely on a golden sword, indicated a man surnamed Lu. This man can be just a regimental commander, but he must lead the troops to carry out Zhang's mission and be Zhang's most trusted person. If this man were to suddenly strike back while carrying out Zhang's mission, revealing himself to be Xi's undercover agent and the ultimate in ruthlessness, everything would be in turmoil. In the end, it was an unknown warrior, without any warning, who took Emperor Xi's life. Of course, he wouldn't be killed with a single blow, he wouldn't die so easily. Instead, he would use the same methods he used to treat others on himself. This warrior, called by God, must be the reincarnation of the soul of someone who died tragically, destined for this world to ultimately send Emperor Xi to the hell. The reason the Tui Bei Tu suddenly points to someone surnamed Lu as the axe wielder is because the advantages and disadvantages have reversed. Previously, Xi had the advantage, and he had to guard against Lu's axe wielder. Now, Zhang has the advantage, and Zhang has to guard against Xi's Lu wielder. This is why, at this last minute, Zhang has hastily put the matter into motion, eliminating these 9 individuals. But whether they are truly eliminated depends on whether a demonic event will occur at the Fourth Plenary Session. Zhang's actions are telling everyone that he must have sensed a demonic event, otherwise he wouldn't have acted so hastily. If the case had been presented to the plenary session for a collective decision, that would have been a true sign of confidence. So, Beijing's top brass, avoid the bloody disasters of the blood moon. Don't blame Enoch for not warning everyone in advance. Enoch was just a humble recorder, and his records are a warning from heaven. The warnings from heaven are all life-saving, saving everyone's life, whether they are good or bad, it is a life, but the bad people will never listen to God, so they will eventually fall into a catastrophe. This is the blessing of God using prophecy and the warning recorded by Enoch.